Hi, my name is Megan, and this is my husband, Anand. We lead a missional community in Milton, and we've also, for the past couple of years, had the opportunity to teach a financial stewardship class here at Life Community. This is the first of a series of videos that we're actually going to be doing about financial stewardship and how best to glorify God through your finances. In this specific video, we're going to be talking about financial wisdom in uncertain times. We know that we've been talking with a lot of people about this pandemic and this uncertainty that we all feel, and it brings about a lot of anxiety and fear. Some of you have maybe lost your job, or some people might just be fearing that they're going to lose their job. And it's maybe even caused some questions about your faith. So what's God up to during these times? And in this uncertainty, how do we best make financial decisions? One of the things that we've been teaching in our class for the past couple of years is we're asking people when they start the class to do a spending fast. So during the spending fast for 3 weeks, we actually ask people to only spend on the things that are necessities, like rent and food, not on things like eating out and things like that. And we hope that it does is allow God to kind of speak to us and help us reveal those things in our hearts where we might be treasuring those things above Him. So this pandemic actually has been doing that a lot for many of us. So those comforts that we had, like just our security, our money, our stuff, all those things that really provided us comfort, we didn't have anymore. So even going to the store, you see empty shelves and you just wanted to get some toilet paper and that was gone, and or cooking supplies or cleaning supplies, things like that, they weren't there. So it really has given us, and I hope you, a lot of perspective about where we're treasuring those things above God and how those things won't satisfy us.
Yeah, I think that more than ever is an opportunity to take this moment, to take a pause and to think about what is God teaching you about your finances. Specifically, we think that there's 5 things you should be considering about your finances. Number 1 is reevaluating your spending. Number 2, think about your savings. Number 3, be disciplined in your decision making. Number 4, prepare for the unexpected. And number 5, be radically generous. So let's talk about each one of these. Reevaluating your spending. How has your spending shifted as a result of COVID-19? In Matthew 6:21, Jesus says, "For where your treasure is, there your heart will also be." How has your spending revealed what you treasure? Are you spending less in certain categories like eating out, perhaps getting coffee, maybe even in parking and transportation? Are you spending more, such as binge watching and therefore subscription services, or maybe even in other areas such as shopping, online shopping? As you think about each category of spending, is there anything that you are treasuring that you can perhaps live without? One way you can do this exercise is to go through and actually look at every category you're spending and categorize each item as either a need or a want. As you go through this, you'll clearly be able to identify those needs as being those things that are essential, and those things that are perhaps wants as things that you're desiring but you don't really need. There could even be a third category of those items that you could actually eliminate altogether. The second item is savings. How are you thinking about savings right now is really important. We know there's a lot of uncertainty, and it's really both the short-term and the long-term economy that I'm sure that are perhaps creating anxiety for many of you. Now more than ever, you probably realize the importance of savings, and we would encourage you to save at a minimum for 1 month, and ideally strive to get to 3 to 6 months, especially if you have income right now. For those of you that might have received the stimulus check, we would encourage you to perhaps save that versus spend it. I know that's challenging to think about doing, but we would encourage you to perhaps save that versus spend it.
And the next thing is be disciplined in your decisions. So during uncertain times, good decision making and planning really helps you navigate it better and with a lot more certainty and feeling of comfort. In Proverbs 16:9, it says, "The heart of a man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps." So things like developing a budget, now is a really great time to do that. If you're thinking about a big financial decision, like buying a house or a car, you might want to consider waiting and letting this play out a little bit longer before you make those big decisions. Definitely avoid adding any additional debt. You don't want to be racking up credit card bills right now. The other thing is don't borrow from your retirement accounts unless you really need to. And right now, there's a lot of options to defer payments on things like utilities, mortgage, student loans, things like that. And that's great opportunity. If you've lost your job and you need cash for buying essential things, like those things you need, food and things like that. But if you can make those payments, you should make those payments because eventually you will have to pay that, and you don't want to be getting yourself into a situation that's really going to be difficult later. The fourth thing is prepare for the unexpected. In Proverbs 13:16, it says, "A man thinks ahead, a fool doesn't, and even brags about it." At a minimum, you should be thinking about putting together a healthcare power of attorney. If you did get sick, you want to be able to have someone take care of your accounts. Additionally, you should consider insurance needs like rent insurance, car insurance, things like that, and make sure you always are making those payments, those insurance premiums.
The fifth thing is be radically generous. In 2 Corinthians 8, in the Message version, it reads, "Now, friends, I want to report on the surprising and generous ways in which God is working in the churches in Macedonia province. Fierce troubles came down on the people of those churches, pushing them to the very limit. The trial exposed their true colors. They were incredibly happy, though desperately poor. The pressure triggered something totally unexpected, an outpouring of pure and generous gifts. I was there and saw it myself. They gave offerings of whatever they could, far more than they could afford, pleading for the privilege of helping out in the relief of poor Christians." What I think is wonderful about this one little story that Paul is sharing is that they were so joyful amidst their suffering. What's amazing is that they were so physically poor but spiritually rich. This is a challenge to all of us. If you're still getting income, how can you continue to be generous to the church and your communities that you serve? Consider ways you can be generous with your treasures, your time, and as well as with your talents. We hope this provides you with some practical financial wisdom during these uncertain times. Be on the lookout for additional videos coming this summer on other financial stewardship topics.